So, following the near fatal shooting of a black man by police officers, protests have erupted in Kenosha, Wisconsin for the third night. So now it got violent as protesters clashed with apparently armed militias and police. So now gunshots were reported during the night. According to some of the Kenosha sheriffs, three people were shot, one wounded, two apparently were dead. And the sheriff's office said that they were investigating whether the shooting had resulted between a conflict between protesters and a group of men with weapons who claimed to have been protecting businesses. So, were they protecting businesses? I don't think so. I don't think. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what you believe, right? But I think that it had nothing to do with, you know, protecting businesses and everything to do with going out and doing some Klan style vigilante justice against uppity black people. I mean, look, apparently police in Kenosha are not known for dealing fairly with black residents. Part of this involved police officers actually not having any sort of body cameras. And so, the camera that caught uh, Jacob Blake being shot in the back about 7 times, even though he was apparently reportedly not armed. They said, oh, he's got a knife. He's got a knife. They didn't find a knife on him. There was no reports of said knife or no reports of said gun. So I haven't seen anything come out about that. And so his biggest crime was disrespecting a police officer by walking away. I didn't know that was a capital crime. Even if it was maybe a misdemeanor or just rude, right? Definitely not a capital crime that you should be shot for. And of course, we had more details of where apparently they were wrestling or something, wrestling around. He was getting punched. Blake was by police officers for something, and then got up. And then allegedly there was again a police officer said, "Oh, he's got a knife. He's got a knife." And then a lot of things obviously don't seem to match up. The police account and the account from the witnesses, who again say that Blake was not armed with a weapon. So that said, as far as police in Kenosha, how they treat some of their black residents, well, David Homan was a college student in Kenosha and reported that he told the New York Times, that he would get stopped all the time by police for not doing anything. Quote, "It was so bad that my white friends on campus said, David, you get pulled over way too much. From now on, when we go places, we're going to drive." So wait, so he's walking around campus and he's constantly getting stopped by the cops when not doing anything. Well, that's weird. Why would they do that? Why would that happen? Well, Mr. Holman is black. And he said he continued to be hassled by police even after he was an elected official. So now at age 23, he was elected to Kenosha's County Board of Supervisors. Hallman, who resigned from the county board back in 2018, is the founder and musical director of the Black String Triage Ensemble in Milwaukee, a group that plays at crime scenes after shootings as a way to help heal the community. He said, quote, "What's going on in Kenosha now was born out of all of the nasty and all of the awful that I saw and experienced when living in that town." So now that said, right? Does this guy sound like a thug to you? I mean, again, here's a guy who was walking around college, right? And gets stopped by the police for no reason. I mean, aren't the police only supposed to go after the bad guys? Well, if you're not a thug and a criminal, I hear that you're fine, that you should be okay, right? I mean, go anywhere in the country, though, and ask a black person minding their own business, right, how often they get stopped by police. If you actually care about justice, then first you'll be surprised, and then you'll be infuriated how often it happens, because it happens all the time. And not only that, but police tend to shoot unarmed black people also all the time. It's now, now that we have cell phone footage, it's getting out there. And that's why, understand, this is why buildings are on fire right now, okay? what it is, it's a cry for help from people who are constantly harassed, targeted, and murdered by institutional powers. And what's interesting about the preponderance of cell phone video now is that that same cell phone video brings out protesters and also counter protesters, right wing white supremacist militias, who actively, by the way, work with police officers against protesters. They say, no, we're just out here to protect property from the rioters and the looters, right? And look, I'm not saying that rioting hasn't happened. I'm not saying looting hasn't happened. I'm not saying that it's a good thing to do those things. In fact, look, Jacob Blake's mother strongly pushed back against that and said, that does not represent my son at all. Okay, don't do that. We don't want violence. We don't want looting, right? We don't want this stuff to happen. But at the same time, again, when you have, protesters that come out that are primarily, like majority peaceful, right? These protests are, you actually have not only a police overreaction, right? Firing tear gas into crowds, but then you get these right-wing militias that come out. And I think one of their main things is not to, again, to protect property. No, it's to go out and shoot themselves some N-words. That's what it is. And so a good example of that is a shooter that was just arrested that's identified as 17-year-old Kyle Rittenhouse. So now he was a 17-year-old member of a militia group that went out there and, claimed, again, to protect property and ended up shooting and killing 2 people, allegedly. So now Rittenhouse is charged on Wednesday with first-degree intentional homicide in a shooting late Tuesday during a clash between protesters and protesters of police brutality, of course, and again, these militia members. The militia members said that they had gathered to protect a gas station from what they called looters and vandals. And so I actually have video of kind of the aftermath of that. But first, before I do that, I just want to show video of police officers not thanking the militia, including Rittenhouse, who's in this video, and offering them water. So let's take a look at that.
Okay, thank you guys. You need water? Seriously. Guys to our right, you need water. We'll throw you one.
Thank you! Alright, come on guys, let's get out of here. Damn. Which way should we go?
Great, we'll give you a couple, for a couple. Thank you. Yes, you. You are a civilian. This area is closed to them. You're trespassing. Leave. Leave now.
Can you throw it up here? Officer, can you throw it up?
We got a couple. We got to save a couple, but we'll give you a couple. We appreciate you guys. We really do.
We appreciate you guys. We really do. Yes, so much appreciation. It's so good that we have these militia members shooting people in the streets, right? No, okay, understand this is before the shooting happened, but nonetheless, these people are obviously armed with weapons, AR-15s, and so, I mean, they're out there with I think with a purpose, and that is to actually use those weapons, and one of them did use his weapon, and so I want to show you some video of that, and then what happened right after the shots were fired. And this is going to blow your mind.
Hey, you just shot them! Hey, you right here just shot them! You right here just shot all them down there! That dude just shot them right here! That dude right here! Yeah. Get the fuck down there!
All right, so you could see, right? That was Rittenhouse right after he shot and killed 2 people. He ran up and he said, okay, I'm going to surrender myself to police, to the Kenosha police. And what happened? Kenosha police ignored him. Nah, we're too busy going after the protesters still. And so he tried to surrender and then was like, well, if they're going to ignore me, I guess I'm just going to have to, I'm going to leave. He left the state. He left the state and went back to Antioch. So he went back home. He went back home. And then at his home, it's reported that he had turned himself in back in his hometown. But realized that at the time, the Kenosha police didn't even try. They didn't even see. He's up there saying, oh, yeah, I kind of shot. Like, I didn't hear anything, him actually say that, but he's got his arms up and he's going by the police, cruisers, the police line. Completely ignored. Oh, you probably just shot 2 rioters. Who cares? Who cares? Oh, and by the way, we appreciate you. Need any water? I mean, we got some water for you. Like, understand, okay? This is who they are. Okay, we know who the Kenosha police are. We know what you're all about. And we also know what the right-wing groups are really there for. Okay, this is why they bring their guns, right? You don't have to go and protest with a gun. Okay, especially because the protesters don't bring guns. But everywhere they go, you've got these right-wing groups that are armed. They've got to bring their weapons everywhere. Why? There's only one reason you bring a weapon. It's because you're ready to use it. And in some cases, you can't wait to use it. You can't wait to use it. And so now, understand that, like, this guy is going to be celebrated on the right as a hero. Like, we know it's already begun, right? He's a hero. He's a martyr for the right. He's shooting thugs, right? And so while they celebrate him, they attack and smear and defame the man who was shot 7 to 8 times in the back for basically no reason. This is America. This is white supremacy, and white supremacy is a gigantic part of American culture.